Good morning, sports fans. Welcome to another episode of 162 Times, your daily baseball recap and preview show, coming to you from a cool and rainy Sunday morning in Ottawa. Hear the rain splash against the road and the roofs. Very nice, very nice. We've got a good show for you today. This is episode 79. And we're going to talk about Game 2 between the Mariners and the Marlins from Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. It's actually in Miami Gardens, specifically. And why do I know that? Because I looked up the history of Florida stadiums yesterday, because this is a road trip, and therefore I should tell you guys about where this team has played over the years. So we'll do that. We'll also tee up the finale of the series, which will be going at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time today, so in about an hour and a half. And then we'll bring you the scores from Saturday night. We'll see how the other teams did vis-a-vis the Mariners. So let's get into it. And first things first, it's just a much, much better day to be a Mariners fan today than it is yesterday. They did what they were supposed to do last night, and they beat the Miami Marlins 9-0, a thumping. The win moves Seattle to 45-34, still first in the American League West. The loss drops Miami to 26-50, still last in the National League East. All is right with the world in that regard. Mariners had 15 hits for 9 runs. They also committed 2 errors. Miami only had 4 hits, and they also committed a single error. The wins and losses did go to the starting pitchers, and there was obviously no save involved in a 9-0 game. So it was Logan Gilbert, masterful outing by him. He's now 4-5 with a 2.71 ERA, and the loss went to Anderson, who really was an opener, as they say. He moves to 0-2 now on the year with an 11.42 ERA. Now, I say he was an opener. I'm not actually sure if he was an opener or if he was just a bad starting pitcher that got yanked right away. I'm not sure, but I think ultimately it was in fact an opener. In terms of the winning pitchers line, Gilbert went 8 innings. Could have gone 9, just went 8. 4 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That was it. Bullpen report was Eduard Bazardo came in with that huge lead. He went the full inning, struck out 2. Excellent work by both pitchers. Gilbert only needed 92 pitches to get through 8 innings. He really could have come out for the complete game, but manager service shook his hand after the inning, so that's the way she goes. Sean Anderson went 70 pitches in his paltry 3 1/3 innings. He gave up 8 hits in those innings, 6 runs, 5 of them were earned, struck out 3, no walks. Then it was Chargois. He went an inning and 2/3 for the Marlins. He gave up a hit, a run, which was earned, 2 strikeouts, and a home run. Then Cronin did 2 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts. Bender had a third of an inning, which was clean all the way over. And then Emmanuel Rivera, the third baseman, who kind of looks like a chia pet. He did a full inning, gave up 2 hits, but no runs. His ERA is 12, which is hilarious. So the Mariners beat a terrible team, which is great. They still struck out 9 times, which is funny. But that's the way it is. And the Mariners only struck out 8 Marlins. But still, it was a beatdown. Josh Rojas got burned. I didn't think it was an error on his part, but he tried to make a really nice barehanded catch and throw across the infield to get a runner, and it just sort of skipped off the last bits of the infield grass and made it a hard pick for Ty France at first, and he got charged with an error on that, but obviously no damage done. Other things that I thought were interesting were that there was 3 double plays turned by the Mariners, one off Anderson, Dela Cruz, and Fortes, so they did real good with that. Marlins were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Mariners were 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and they left 8 on base, so they could have made it even worse in this game. But it was the consistent scoring, I think, that I like. They scored in the first, 4th, 5th, and 8th so they kept adding on runs. A couple guys had really good nights. Ryan Bliss was 3 for 4 with a run and 2 RBI. Dom Canzone was 4 for 5 with 3 runs and 2 RBI. Dylan Moore was 2 for 5 with 2 runs and an RBI. So it was really that bottom third of the order that did a lot of the damage. Raleigh and Crawford also had RBI, and Josh Rojas was 2 for 5 with a run. In terms of the scoring and how did we get there, it started in the top of the first when Sean Anderson uncorked a wild pitch and J.P. Crawford scored. Then Cal Raleigh had a sacrifice fly, bringing in Josh Rojas, so that was 2-0 after 1. Top of 4, Dom Canzone singled and scored Luke Raley. Then Ryan Bliss singled and scored Dominic Canzone, 4-0. J.P. Crawford kept the party going in that inning by reaching on a fielder's choice. Dylan Moore scored and Ryan Bliss scored on the fielder's choice, and then J.P. Crawford got to second courtesy of a throwing error by first baseman Josh Bell. So Dylan Moore was an RBI for J.P., and then Bliss scoring was an unearned run. Dom Canzone homered in the top of the fifth, a moonshot to the second deck, basically the top deck in Lone Depot Park. I think they had it at 415 feet. Looked longer than that, but whatever. Top 8, Dylan Moore doubled and scored Dom Canzone. And Ryan Bliss capped things off with a double, scoring Dylan Moore in the top of the 8th, 9-0 your final. A lot of people saying Ryan Bliss does not want to go back to Tacoma, and I agree. He's on fire, and he's hitting the ball really well and playing good baseball. Turned 3 double plays today, so I'm liking what I'm seeing in that regard. Anyway, all-round super win. Miami was wearing their City Connect jerseys, which are disgusting. They're basically creamsicle colored with white pinstripes and a blue hat that has this sort of looks like a Crown Royal logo with 2 M's on it. It's based on an old team called the Cuban Sugar Kings that used to play in Miami, and those were their colors and sort of their logo. So it's a throwback to Cuban heritage in Miami and baseball in that sense. I don't have any problem with that. I actually think the story makes the jersey a lot better, but it just looks terrible, and they're such a bad team that it looks too it looks too much like one of those pieces of licorice that's stuffed with like icing. You get one of those things. They're okay, but they're kind of too sweet. That's what they look like, and that's kind of how they played today. So before we go on to talk about, this afternoon's game, we'll just talk a little bit about the history of the Marlins franchise. So they came into existence in 1993, and for the first decade plus, for about the first 20 years, they were known as the Florida Marlins. So from 93 to 2011, they were called the Florida Marlins. And they played at what now is Sun Life Stadium, but at the time was known as Joe Robbie Stadium. And basically that was also where the Miami Dolphins played. So it was this gigantic stadium that wasn't really built for baseball, so the sightlines were kind of weird. And it didn't have a roof, so they had a lot of rainouts because it was either like 1 billion degrees or like a hurricane down in Miami. So it was poorly thought out. In 2012, what was then known as Marlins Park opened, and it's now been renamed Lone Depot Park. It's a weird stadium that I was reading all about. Is all this fancy, overly complicated garbage cooked up by Jeffrey Loria, who used to own the Montreal Expos. So none of it surprised me, but it's all inspired by like different art and culture and all this crap. It looks kind of like a combination of like the back of Yankee Stadium when it was in episodes of Seinfeld and like the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. I don't like it. And the other thing that I found fascinating about it was that it has a capacity of only 37,000 people. It looks bigger than that somehow, but that's one of the smallest capacities of any stadium in the majors. And they have a very hard time selling it. And, of course, taxpayers paid for a lot of it and haven't necessarily got the value back. It is where Ichiro played a lot of his final years of baseball, so we'll give it some love for that. If the Ichman played there and didn't get hurt, then that's a good thing. I did read that it was very hard for them to. I don't know if they have natural grass now, but because they have to keep the roof closed so much because of the heat and the rain in Miami, it was very hard for them to get grass to grow, especially in right field where each would have played most of the time. And I didn't really notice it on TV, but I'll be watching for it this afternoon to see if I can see any issues with like the grass or whether or not they had to cop out and put down turf. But anyway, that's a history of the Marlins. Despite that, inauspicious, kind of just weird sort of formula for their franchise, they've won 2 World Series, which is more than I could say for the Seattle Mariners. They've never won a division title, despite winning 2 World Series. They won in 97 and 2003. And they've only had like 2 guys who've ever played 1,000 games for the franchise. One of them is Craig Counsell, who was on both World Series teams and now manages the Cubs. A very good manager. And I can't remember the name of the other guy. I think Jeff Conine. It was Jeff Conine. So, interesting franchise. Kind of a doormat. But last year they made the playoffs. And this year I thought they were going to make the playoffs. And so I picked them to make the playoffs. And that's obviously proven to be a bit of an embarrassing choice. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the finale from today. That's going to go at 1:40 Eastern. 1:40 Eastern. So in about an hour and a half from now, it'll be Bryce Miller, the right-hander for Seattle, 6-5, 3.46 ERA, 82 Ks this season, coming off a couple good outings. He'll be going up against Kyle Tyler. Kyle Tyler, who is 0-0 this year. He's from Oklahoma City. His ERA is 4.5. He's pitched 2 innings. And his whip is 0.5. He's only pitched 2 innings. His career regular season record, he's 8 games, 1-0, 2.45 ERA, 18 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 0.95 whip, 9.8 whip. So he was a 2018 draft pick. He's born in 1996. I don't know what to say about this. That is not a very impressive set of numbers. I'm not sure why they've got him coming out as a starter, but this is just he used to pitch for the Angels and also the Padres. Doesn't look like he's really been a starter before, so it could be another bullpen game, or could just be who the Marlins have to start games these days. Not really sure. We'll see all about that. Let's not get too cocky. All right, in terms of lineups, the Mariners are going to be rolling out J.P. Crawford leading off, playing short. Josh Rojas batting second, playing third. Julio back in the lineup, center field, and batting third. Dom Canzone will play right and bat fourth. Ty France will play first and bat fifth. Luke Raley will be in left field batting sixth. Mitch Garver will catch and bat seventh. Mitch Haniger will DH and bat eighth. And Ryan Bliss will play second and bat ninth. So a day off for Cal Raleigh. Good. He needs it. And let's hope that he can get the whole day off. All right. For Miami, it'll be Jazz Chisholm Jr. DHing and leading off. Josh Bell will bat second and play first. Brian Dela Cruz will bat third and play left field. Jesus Sanchez will be in right, batting fourth. Jake Berger will play third and bat fifth. Nick Gordon in center, batting sixth. Otto Lopez at second, batting seventh. Carlos Bruyan at shortstop, batting eighth. And Ali Sanchez will round out the order and play catcher. It's Vidal Bruyan. Vidal Bruyan. Cool name, buddy. Cool name. So, go Mariners. Let's win the rubber match. Let's win this series. And then we'll get down to Tampa Bay next. So, we'll bring that preview to you tomorrow. At some point before game time. I think that makes sense. All right. Let's go to the scores from Saturday night. So, around the league, we had the Texas Rangers beating the Kansas City Royals 6-0. Texas 36-40 now. So, Mariners won, Texas won. Houston also won, 37-40 they are. 5-1 over Baltimore was the score there. Cleveland, I believe, swept Toronto. It was a 6-3 win last night. The Yankees beat the Braves 8-3. The Dodgers beat the Angels 7-2. The Pirates beat the Rays 4-3. The Cardinals over the Giants 9-4. The White Sox over the Tigers 5-1. The Cubbies over the Mets 8-1. The Phillies over the Diamondbacks 12-1. The Red Sox over the Reds 4-3. The Twins over the Oakland Athletics 10-2. And the Padres over the Milwaukee Brewers 6-4. The Rockies over the Nationals 8-7. That rounds it out. So basically, good thing the Mariners won because all their rivals also won. So no ground lost, no ground gained. And we'll look to do it all again today. So thanks a lot for listening, folks, and have a good one.